Hi everybody. I'm very excited today to introduce you to a very special guest, and this is really a bit of a kind of co-collaboration, if you like. Laura Doyle is known as America's #1 intimacy expert, and she is the best-selling author of The Surrendered Wife and also The Surrendered Single book, which I'll get her to tell you a bit more about in a moment. Now, Laura and I recently were in San Diego, and we were promising that we were going to, have a quick video and share some of the really great stuff that she does with her tribe and my tribe as well. And we decided to do it transatlantically. So I'm in the not so sunny UK at the moment, and Laura's over in America at home. So I just want to give you a little introduction. If you've never heard of Laura Doyle's work, she's fantastic. So last year I went to an event and I heard her speak, and she was brilliant. She was speaking about some of the principles that she has brought together for relationships and enabling people to have a really great, nurturing and intimate relationship. And I was really struck by the work that Laura did, and I know that myself and many people in the room went out and bought her book, either The Surrendered Wife or The Surrendered Single. So Laura is an absolutely fantastic New York Times best-selling author of The Surrendered Wife, and she is a fantastic relationship coach. And what I love about what Laura does and how she does it is she thinks a little bit outside of the box. And she gets really great lasting effects for especially women who really want to have these intimate relationships, feel cherished and feel adored. But rather than me spoil it and try to tell you the greatness that that Laura does, I'm going to hand over to Laura, and I'm going to start off, Laura, by welcoming you and saying hello. And can you tell us a little bit about your gift? The gift of being a fantastic relationship expert. Just give us a bit of background about how you got involved in it and what led you to become such an expert.
You bet. Thank you for that glowing introduction, Jenny. That's so nice to hear all that. And yes, I am a relationship expert, but I certainly didn't start out that way. One of the amazing, miraculous things that's happening for me right now is my husband and I are going to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary next month, and today I really have the close, connected, passionate, playful relationship that I dreamed I would have when I said I do. And that is just very moving for me, because for the first several years we didn't have that at all. In fact, there were just a few things, well, practically everything, actually, that I thought I was better at than him. And so I was always giving him helpful advice, right? I was trying to help him be tidier and help him be more ambitious and help him be more romantic. But what I didn't realize at the time is that helpful and wife language is actually critical in husband language. And I was causing a big rift in our relationship, and things grew very distant. In fact, we got to the point where he just didn't seem to want to spend any time with me. He would prefer to watch TV to being with me, or even to making love to me. And I was just very lonely and devastated. So I thought that we needed to divorce. And that was kind of the start of everything. That's when that was the disaster before the breakthrough.
Okay, that's really interesting. So how did you transform from that space to becoming the expert that you are today?
Well, the first thing I did was I dragged him into marriage counseling, because I thought maybe the counselor could fix him, and then I could finally be happy, and I thought that was how it worked. But it turns out that's not how it works at all. What happened was the 6 intimacy skills came into my life, and they made everything else possible. So I was able to regain my dignity, to regain the respect that I had for my husband when we first met, when we first got married. I was able to relinquish inappropriate control, and that seemed nearly impossible to me, because when we were struggling, I felt that my husband he just wasn't very responsible. Like, if I didn't take care of everything, the cars wouldn't be maintained. We wouldn't have clean dishes. The bills wouldn't get paid. We wouldn't have any savings. That's what I really thought. And as a result of going to counseling, I learned that I was just overly controlling, but the counselor just said, well, stop controlling him all the time. And for me, that was like saying, stop thinking about elephants, right? I couldn't just do it. I didn't know how to do that. So what's been miraculous is that through these 6 intimacy skills, that is, it's my habit now to practice good self-care, relinquish inappropriate control, be respectful. I'm more receptive to gifts, compliments, and help. I'm more vulnerable, and I practice gratitude as a discipline.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing. And what you've just spoken or talked us through there are your 6 steps?
Those are the 6 intimacy skills.
Wow.
And that's what's made all the difference. So at first it was just me, and then I got my girlfriends to start doing it as well. So I couldn't control my husband anymore, but I could control my girlfriends. So I made them come to my living room and eat quiche and drink iced tea, and we would strategize about how to have the kind of marriages that we really wanted, that were intimate and passionate and peaceful, instead of like the double life I had before, where we would fight in the car for an hour on the way to a party, and then get to the party and act like everything was fine, nothing had happened. So I noticed that these other women in my living room, they were also getting amazing results from using the 6 intimacy skills. So it seemed like kind of a miracle that we discovered something that none of us had learned growing up. In fact, it was almost the opposite of what I had learned growing up about relationships.
Oh, wow. And I'm just putting myself in your place. I know that in like previous relationships that I too have done the helpful hints and, that kind of thing as well. So how would somebody get started? How did those ladies, your friends, get started? How did you get started in, starting to change this?
Yeah, well, the most important, indispensable first step to practicing the intimacy skills is this one. It's practicing good self-care. And that means doing at least 3 things a day for your own enjoyment or pleasure. In fact, the more frivolous, the better. This is not about improving your cardio or saving the planet. It's just about what makes you feel good. And so it might mean that you talk to your sister on the phone, or grab a cup of coffee with a girlfriend is a good one. Or if you love to quilt or skate or paint or read, I love to play volleyball, so that's on my list. But at least 3 a day we find is the minimum, so that we're tending to our own happiness. And this will sound really obvious when I say it, but I had no concept that miserable people don't have happy relationships. So if you don't practice good self-care, you give yourself very little chance of having the kind of relationship that you're dreaming of.
Oh, wow. It's funny because you speak about that and you make it sound so easy. And I'm thinking, 3 things of self-care a day? Wow, how am I going to fit them all in,
Right. And most of my clients say the same thing. They say, I've had a woman raise her hand at the retreat and say, did you mean 3 things a week? You just said 3 things a day. Let me correct you. And, for me, life is short and you don't want to miss it. And if you're not making time for some of the things that really bring you, put a smile on your face and make you happy, life gets a little bit grim. It gets hard to even be excited about your day when you're just sort of slogging through and taking care of everyone else. So what I find is that most of my clients feel very guilty about doing things for their own enjoyment. And so what we say is, well, try not to feel guilty, but if you do feel guilty, that's okay. Just keep going. It's going to start to feel more normal and natural after time goes by and it becomes your habit.
And I'm thinking, as I listen to you speaking there's a part of me and a part of maybe some of our viewers and people watching and listening to this that are saying, oh, that's not me, I'm fine. So who would you say that your audience is in terms of, your women or your singles?
Sure. Well, one of our jokes is the way you know you're controlling is if you think you're not controlling, right? That's, of course, that may not be true. However, we like to laugh about it. But I think one of the things that's interesting that was fascinating for me is that when I quit being the armchair quarterback of my husband's life by telling him all the things that he should do at work and how to drive, things like that, what to eat for lunch, that what emerged for me was my own exhilarating, terrifying life. I was called to write a book that a lot of people hate. It's called The Surrendered Wife, but it became a bestseller. I got to go on national and international television. I got to speak in front of big crowds live, which all of it was very scary and also very exciting. So I think one of the things that's interesting to think about is what will emerge for you as you stop draining your energy on maybe a relationship that's not very fulfilling and have that energy for your life. If you really show up for your life instead of focusing on other people's lives, it might be that there's a big adventure waiting for you.
I love that so much. I've actually been trying to scribble that down, that question. So what will emerge for me? I mean, that's a really fantastic question, and I urge anybody listening to this, grab, even if it's the back of an envelope and a pen, definitely write that question down. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm interested in your journey. So you have lived this, you've breathed this, you've written about it, and you've spoken to international audiences about this. So would you say that your method would work for anybody doing this?
What we found is that there are three types of guys. I call them a divorce I endorse. Unfortunately, there are some situations where you just aren't safe. So if your boyfriend or husband is physically abusive, of course you're not safe in that situation, and that's a divorce I endorse. If you're married, safety has to come first. The second one is a man who's not capable of being faithful to you. Again, you're just not safe in that situation. And the third one is a man who's actively addicted to either drugs, alcohol, or gambling. Just those three. Sometimes women try to say, well, he's addicted to his phone or his cigarettes or to food. And we don't find that that's an issue. It's just the three, the drugs, alcohol, or gambling, because we find that he will always serve his addiction before he can be responsive to you as his wife or girlfriend. But the good news is, if you're not married to one of those three kinds of guys, then you have a good man. Not a perfect man, but one that you can really have an amazing lifelong romance with.
That's great. That's really great, and that's really great advice as well. Because I think as women, we do have tendencies, or a tendency, to think that we can save the guy, and do something to change it. So
yeah, we hope, yeah. But unfortunately, those three we find. So what we find is when a woman starts learning the intimacy skills and practicing them on a regular basis, here's what they say. It's kind of ironic. She'll say, "I feel like I have a new husband." Or I feel like I have a new boyfriend in about 2 weeks. And the joke is, of course, he's not the one who changed, right? She changed. And then he responded to her differently. So, of course, he did change too, right? But we call them to be, actually had a man write to me from Belgium thanking me because his wife learned the intimacy skills. And he said it made him feel more of a man. And he became less impatient, and he had less of a temper, because of the change that she had made in the relationship. So, of course, they do change as well. But it starts with us. It's like that old song, let it begin with me. Let there be respect in my marriage, and let it begin with me.
I love that. I absolutely adore that. So you've just told us about a man from Belgium that wrote to you and said thank you. Can you tell us of any other real-life examples of other people that have found,
Yeah, this is the astonishing part. Over 150,000 women have now used the intimacy skills to revitalize the intimacy and the passion and the peace in their relationship. They now feel desired, they feel cherished, they feel adored. So one of my favorite examples, actually, I think you're in Manchester. I had a woman from Manchester send me a screen capture of a text that she got from her husband, who had sent her a bunch of flowers at work. She said, for the first time in ages. And she said, I know you get loads of letters saying, you saved my marriage, so I just wanted to send you this because I thought it was funny. And he had said, thanks for participating in the wife bonus scheme. And you probably want to know why you're entitled to this reward. And it was for her distinct lack of shoutiness and lovely wife-like behavior, and for her lack of bipolar mood swings. So it was really cute. And then of course the flowers were there. So she sent it, and it just said, P.S. You saved my marriage. Thank you so much. So that's a great one. Another one that I love is Sherry Bird, who her husband, after almost 20 years of marriage, he came and said, it's over. I'm divorcing you. I want out of this relationship. And she was really upset. She realized that even though they had been struggling, she didn't really want to lose her marriage. So they went to marriage counseling. He agreed to go. And he said he felt like the marriage counselor, all he did was point out everything that he had done wrong. He felt like he was being ganged up on. And she agreed. It just wasn't helpful. So they stopped going. And then she went online and she discovered my website and the intimacy skills. And it's a great story. 11 months later, her husband gave her the most passionate kiss. And she knew that they were out of the woods. It was no longer about a divorce. And so now they're, of course, they're back to being happily married. She says their relationship is more physically passionate than it had been since they first got married. And so she was so transformed by the experience, she decided to study to become an intimacy skills coach with me. So she's now one of my certified coaches.
Oh, that is such a lovely story. Stories like that always make me sob, but I didn't sob.
Yeah, very good, Jenny.
So what about then, you must, through your programs and through what you teach, which we'll come on to in a little while, but you must find some scenarios that on the face of it, other people think are seemingly impossible. What kind of examples can you give of anything like that?
Yes, we do. In fact, for me, the most exciting thing in way is when a woman comes and says, my husband's got another woman, or we've already filed for divorce, I filed or he filed, or I had an affair, and everything seems completely dark and hopeless. And she's saying, is there any chance for us? And I'm like, absolutely. That's the most gratifying client for us, because we know there's no such thing as a marriage that can't really be revitalized. I mean, we can't make any guarantees. There's no promise about it, but we see it happen so often now that we just can't doubt it anymore, that it can happen. And then I think back to to marriage counseling, where we were going, and I was very seriously considering divorcing my husband, and things were just getting worse. Like it wasn't getting better at all from complaining about each other for an hour a week. And with the intimacy skills, by contrast, we see such dramatic improvements in such a short time.
That sounds amazing. So I know that you've written the two books, The Surrendered Wife and The Surrendered Single. So what about those who might be watching this and thinking, I'm not married, I've been with them for a while, or maybe I'm not married yet and I want to find the man of my dreams? Have you got any examples of that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. We see that happen all the time as well. So one of the stories that comes to mind is a woman who came to my Intimacy and Peace retreat. And she was there in the breakout session where we were talking about how to attract and marry the man who's right for you. So there's no hunting. We consider women to be creatures who have special gifts in the world, and the more you honor those special gifts, the more powerful you become. Really, women can move mountains without lifting a finger if they are honoring their spiritual, their feminine spirit, I should say. So this woman got up and she admitted, she said, I just don't think there's a man who's right for me, really, in the world. So out of 7 billion people, half of them male, there just wasn't going to be one, not one of them. And yet So when she said that out loud, of course, she heard how it sounded a little bit silly, and she became open to just being willing to go on lots of dates. So she's got on a dating site and put up her profile, and we talked about becoming the goddess of fun and light. So her profile picture, she was wearing a red clown nose in her profile picture, which was very brave, really, right? I had another client who had her profile said, the headline was "Needy, Neurotic, Seeks Same." So we're just very careful about the whole thing. She got lots of great. I remember one guy replied to her and said, "Do two wrongs and make a right. You know, you've got to go out with me because I know you're the right person for me." So, of course, she did in fact attract a wonderful man. He's a lawyer. They've been together for over a year now. She's madly in love, and so is he. And she's just astonished at herself. She'd been single without dating at all for 7 years. And so here he was waiting for her. You know, the joke is he'd been trying to get, and she just wouldn't send up a flare to let him know where she was. So that's kind of what we help women do. So it's not about hunting, there's no pursuing. You, and then you get to choose which one is right for you. They get to audition for the role of being your boyfriend.
Lovely. I love the sound of that. I like the no hunting necessary piece as well. And it's funny because I was recently speaking to somebody and they kind of made this sweeping statement and said, but all men, you know, this, that, and the other, and they seemed really set in their ways. And I'm thinking, what kind of advice would you give to somebody in that space, you know?
Right. Well, and I think that's the thing, right? We all have a number of affirmations that we're walking around the world with, and maybe not so aware that those are affirmations. You know, I used to think, well, if I think something, it must be true because it's there in my head, so it got there somehow. And so we do find this. Like, so a lot of my clients will say, well, all men are just after sex, or no men want to make a commitment, or something like that. And so we just ask them to open their eyes a little wider and go in with a sense of curiosity and try some experiments. So there's some very specific things we suggest that women do on a first date that's going to make it probably very different than any other date they've been on. And really, it can be quite entertaining. I can remember one woman she had gone out with this guy and she was really interested in him, and so she was waiting for him to call. But we encourage women to keep dating until they're in an exclusive relationship. You don't want to get too fixated on one man because you might get very disappointed, or you just don't know what's going to happen, right? So that's surrender. We can't control the outcome. So she accepted a date from this other guy that she wasn't that interested in because he was too short, she thought, and he was balding a little bit. So they went on this date, and she was practicing her surrendered skills. And at the end of the date, he was so taken with her, he said, I've got to see, he didn't ask her, you know, will you go out with me again? He just said, I've got to see you again. And so she was flattered, and she said, okay. But she was really still waiting for the other guy to call, you know. And then somewhere in the middle of the second date, she was listening to him and looking at him, and she thought, he has really beautiful eyes. And anyway, the other guy never called, and it's just as well because she ended up marrying this man, and they have 2 children and a co-op in New York City now, and she's deliriously happy about it. So we don't always, we think we do, but life is full of surprises.
And that so beautifully explains the whole piece of surrender. We think we know what's best for us and try to control every step, and that's not always the case. So yeah. I just love hearing the stories and the way in which you've helped many people across the world, really, through everything you do. I know from the journey that you've taken and the program that you've created and the way in which you help women that there's got to be more. There's got to be more than you know, what we can cover in this interview. And trust me, we could speak for hours. We won't, but we could speak for hours on that. So how does somebody that wants to know more about having a fulfilling marriage or finding a fulfilling relationship, how do they go about doing that with you?
Well, I've got some free video training, modern quiz. There's one for how intimate is your relationship, and there's another one for how good are your dating skills. So whether you're single or in a relationship, if you go to lauradoyle.org. So it's lauradoyle.org as in orgasm. You'll find that you can get all of that. You can get the quiz, you can get the free videos, and learn a little bit more about the intimacy skills and start applying them immediately.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So if they go to lauradoyle.org, you'll be able to get the quiz, you'll be able to get the free training. So what if somebody's been listening to this and they're thinking, you know what, this is me and I can salvage my marriage, I can make a change. What if they want to go further than a quiz or something with you? What do they need to do?
Right. Well, I highly suggest they take a look at that Intimacy and Peace program, where what we've done is put all 6 intimacy skills with in-depth training on video, on demand. So there's over 30 where you can immediately start practicing the skills that we've seen over and over again lead to more connection, different ways to RSVP not attending, celebrating for both of you. It's going to make it a lot more pleasurable and exciting to do the feminine approach to sex. Oh, we also talk about the power of the spouse-fulfilling prophecy. You know, what are you affirming to your partner? Are you saying you're always late? You're such a slob. You're no good with money. You know, there's all these little things that we are sometimes affirming to people over and over again, and they, of course, rise to our expectations. So we teach you how to set a spouse-fulfilling prophecy that will serve you better. And then, adopting the attitude of gratitude. So you create a culture of gratitude in your house. Oh, what to do if you don't respect your husband? I'm talking about restoring respect. Well, a lot of you are saying, yeah, but I don't respect him. I'll show you what to do. How to receive more gifts, compliments, and help. And some of you are thinking, well, I haven't gotten a gift from my man in years. That's okay. I'll show you how you can bring that back, or what to do if he gets you gifts that you hate, right? You're not the only one. That happens to lots of women. So I'll show you how to handle that. So those are just some of the things that we touch on in the program. And of course, we have calls where you can ask any question at all and kind of get my brain wrapped around your relationship. And I'll give you really specific feedback about what you can do differently to create immediate change.
Oh, lovely. As you were going through that was so juicy. My camera froze. I don't know if it froze on your end or not. So just say again what that is. That's the Intimacy and Peace program.
Right. So Intimacy and Peace. If you go to intimacyandpeace.com, you can learn more about it. Intimacyandpeace.com. And this is 30 on-demand videos. It's live calls with me. There's exercises and workbooks to help you gain the habits. So this is the wonderful thing about the intimacy skills is, first of all, no one ever taught them to you probably. But once you learn them, they're very self-reinforcing, and then they become your habits. And so you get to sort of live in that feeling of being desired and cherished and adored every day for the rest of your life once you develop the habits.
And does this Intimacy and Peace program, does it start on a specific date, or is it something that's ongoing, or how does it work?
Yes, it's ongoing. So you can sign up for that course at any time.
Lovely. Perfect.
Get into it today. First intimacy skill.
So if you're a bit like me and you can't wait for things and you just want to dive straight in, then why not go over there straight away? So absolutely. I know, because I've heard so many people speak about your work and the benefits it's got them and how they're in such happy and juicy relationships. What if you are now in this juicy relationship and you want to pay this forward and you want to help other people? Is there something that people can do with you?
I'm so glad you asked, because now I'm on a mission. You know, I've mentioned that when I stopped controlling my husband's life, all these scary things emerged in my life. So I have this big, scary mission, which is to end world divorce. And it's much bigger and scarier than I ever thought that I could take on. And clearly, I need a lot of help to do this. So what my focus is right now is to train women who are passionate about this, who really want to make a difference in the lives of other women who are maybe already relationship coaches who are not getting paid, right? They're that woman who everyone comes to ask for advice or support, who listens well. So I'm training women like that to be Laura Doyle intimacy coaches. And part of the reason I'm so eager to do this right now is because when The Surrendered Wife first came out, many thousands of women reached out to me asking for help about their relationships, and there was no one there to help them. There was only me, and I was on a book tour, and I just wasn't avalanche out in June of next year, and I'm just wanting to prepare for the avalanche. So I'm really putting out the word to anyone who feels that she would enjoy. We work from home in our yoga pants if we want most of the time, and coach over the phone or computer. And but I'm really looking for women who are just passionate about this and feel that they would also like to take their own relationships to the next level. Because believe me, when you become a relationship coach, you might think you have a great relationship now, and you probably do, and there's still more yet to come, and that's what you get from becoming a relationship coach.
That sounds amazing, and that's what you call a real double whammy. So you're in a great relationship, you help other women, you serve, and you help to stop world divorce, and then you get even more juicy gems in your own relationship too.
Absolutely. We call it the prosperity, intimacy, and purpose triumvirate. So you can be in your purpose, you can prosper from it, and you're going to have greater intimacy in your own relationship.
You know, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing what you've shared with us already in this short space of time. And I know that there's even more you can share. So you've gone through the Intimacy and Peace program. You can become an accredited trainer and help other people's relationships and, you know, enhance your own. And you can go on and, you know, get a quiz, an intimacy quiz. And I really love all of that. So how can people find out more about you and what you do after watching this?
You go to either As an Orgasm or intimacyandpeace.com. You have the opportunity newsletter where I send out free tips. So I'll let you know about free trainings and webinars, which I do quite a bit because I have this mission to end world divorce. List, you'll be in the know, and you'll also be learning a little something at least every week about how to take your relationship to the next and tender.
That sounds just wonderful, so thank you. And if people want to contact you or your office or your team directly, what's the best way that they can do that?
They should call our 800-466-2028. And feel free to call. I have coaches standing. You could apply for a discovery session. Best step would be for you, and 800-466-2028.
Okay. And if someone is feeling a bit shy and they want to contact you by email, is there a great email address that they can set that up through?
Sure. I'd love for you to contact me directly at laura@lauradoyle.org. LAURA@lauradoyle.org.
Lovely. So I'm writing those down, and for those of you that are watching this and think I need to get onto this, if you're watching this video, you'll see some links as well that you can just click and go. So I just want to say, Laura, this has been absolutely amazing. It's been really fantastic, and thank goodness maybe I wasn't being interviewed by you on my relationship status, because that would be a whole nother program.
So, well, I'm excited about what we could do with you, Jenny. I've got some ideas to get you in that relationship. We've got to talk.
We have definitely got to talk. In the meantime, I'm going to go to your website and do some quizzes, and also I'm going to read your book because I've started reading that recently. So thank you so much. And you know, thank you for the incredible generosity that you shared. I can tell that you are full to bursting with even more tips and skills and ways of helping people to really get intimacy in their relationship. So thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to add before we end this call?
Jenny, I just want to thank you so much, viewer, and I appreciate get the word out. You're helping me with my mission, and I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you.
No, thank you. So until next time, for the rest of you, just this video is definitely worth watching back again and again. So thank you so much, Laura, and thank you to those of you watching, and I'm just looking forward to hearing the juicy gems of your relationships and intimacy. So until next time, bye for now.